All right, so we're going to resume this problem. The work for question 12, finding dB is on the first video. And now we're going to find CD. CD is the altitude. I want to label it Y. So this is the work to find CD. Since it's an altitude, and now that we have X is 5, we have the two projections, and we want to find the altitude, so we can use PAP. Important to remember for PAP, the altitude obviously is the same, but the projections are different. So we have to use both projections. So projection, I'll start off with the 4 over y equals y over 5, or you could have had 5 over y equals y over 4. It wouldn't make a difference. Cross multiply, you get y squared is equal to 20. Taking the square root, y is equal to the square root of 20, which the biggest perfect square which divides into 20 is 4. So radical 4, radical 5. Radical 4 is a perfect square, so square root of 4 is 2. It gets to come out of the radical disguised as a 2. And 5 stays in the radical because it's not a perfect square. So our final answer for CD is 2 radical 5. Last but never least is CB. CB I shall call Z, and that is a leg, so I will use help. Important to remember, in help, you use the same leg twice. So hypotenuse, well, the hypotenuse, now that we have the two projections, 5 and 4, we can just add those up together and get 9. 9 over Z equals same leg, Z over the projection attached to Z, which is the 5. Cross multiplying, we would get Z squared is 45. Taking the square root, Z is square root of 45. The largest perfect square which divides into 45 is 9. So we have radical 9 and radical 5. And square root of 9 is 3. 5 stays in the square root, and we get 3 radical 5. So our final answers for this question, final answers would be dB. dB is equal to 5, sorry. CD is equal to 2 radical 5. And CB is equal to 3 radical 5. So there are your final answers. Next problem, number 13. Again, a three-parter. They want us to find three things: CD, AC, and BC. So CD, well, before we do anything, let's label the parts. 8 is a projection. 2 is a projection. And so they want us to find CD. I'll put an X on CD, and X happens to be the altitude. So this is a simple application of PAP. Projection is 8 divided by the altitude, which is X. Repeat the altitude, and the other projection is 2. Cross multiplying, we get X squared is 16. And taking the square root, X is 4. So the altitude is 4. Next up is AC. AC is a leg. Okay, so we have to use help. But in order to use help, we would need the hypotenuse. But thankfully, we have both projections, and we can add them up to get 10. So filling in help here, we would have 10 over the leg, which I'll call Y, equals same leg, Y, over the projection on that side of the picture, which happens to be a 2. Cross multiplying, we get 20 is Y squared. Y is the square root of 20, which breaks down into square root of 4, square root of 5, which is similar as the last problem, and we get 2 radical 5. One more. We want to find BC. And BC is the other leg. So very similar setup. We're going to use help. The hypotenuse was 10. The leg is, I'll call it Z. Equals same leg over the projection on that side, which is not 2, but it's 8. So cross multiplying, we get Z squared is 80. Taking the square root, we get square root of 16 square root of 5, which simplifies to 4 square root of 5. So here are our answers. So final answers complete. CD is 4. AC is 5. AC is 2 square root of 5, and BC is 4 radical 5. All right, centroids. Again, biggest thing with the centroid, you have to understand what you're being given and how to find the corresponding piece. So we have G as the centroid, meaning that D, E, and F are midpoints. So keep that in mind. DE is 8. GF is 6. And AE is 30. And AE is this whole thing here. And they want us to find certain things. So BC. Well, BE is 8 and E is a midpoint. So B and EC are equal. So EC is 8, which makes BC 16. And EC is 8. So those are out of the way now. The next up, we're looking for BG. So if you notice, now we're in the triangle. So if we look along the line segment BG, GF here is 6. That is the little piece. So to go from the little piece to the big piece, we multiply by 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. And then BF is very easy. B to F is the 12 plus the 6, which is 18. GE, we have to look at what we're given. The black piece is actually the whole thing. So when we're given the entire thing, we divide by 3, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. That would be the little piece. And then notice, AG is going to be double 10, which is 20, which makes perfect sense because 20 plus 10 is 30, and they're in a 2-to-1 ratio, which we knew. All right, next problem. We have G is the centroid. So again, if G is the centroid, we know that these guys, D, E, and F, are midpoints. So AD is 5x minus 1. BD is 3x plus 7. DG is y plus 3. And GC is 3y plus 2. And they want us to find the segments AB and DC. So first, I'm going to look along this blue part, this blue segment. And notice, since D is the midpoint, AD and DB are equal to each other. So what we can do is set up an equation with just 5x minus 1 equals 3x plus 7. Now notice I didn't multiply anything by 2 or anything fancy because we're on the outer part of the triangle. So it's just D happens to just be a midpoint, and so these two pieces are equal. So now it just becomes some tedious algebra, subtracting 3x, adding 1, 2x is 8, divided by 2, and x is 4. They didn't ask us for x. They asked us for segment AB. So if you know x is 4, 5 times 4 is 20, minus 1 is 19. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 7 is 19. No shock there that those two pieces are equal. And we want to go from, the directions say go from A to B. So 19 plus 19 is 38. So AB is 38. So again, x helps us get AB, but it's not the final answer. Now, if we want to find DC, now we're working inside the triangle. And so now we have a little piece, which is the y plus 3, and the big piece. So if I want to go from the little to the big, this would not work as an equation because you're saying little piece equals big piece. That makes no sense. But if I take the little piece and multiply it by 2, that equals the big piece. And now we can distribute. We get 2y plus 6 equals 3y plus 2. Subtract 2y on both sides. So we get 6 equals y plus 2. Subtract 2, and y is 4. Again, I don't really care much about y. Y is kind of, we're going to use it to figure out what we want to find out. So y is 4. That makes y here, well, y plus 3 equal to 7. If that piece is 7, then you can either plug in the y or you can just multiply by 2, getting 14 for GC. And then DC is going to be this whole green segment, so 7 plus 14. So DC overall is 21. So the final answers to the question are AB is 38 and DC is 21.